All right, hello, and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and welcome to Monday, my favorite day of the week because I love what I do. I hope you're having a great start to the week, just like I am. There's not a great deal to say today because at least pertaining to the charts, because I did a deep dive over the weekend, which hopefully you've seen. If you haven't, go and check that out. Needless to say, not a great deal has changed since that video in terms of the technicals, but the dollar, I think, is worth mentioning. The dollar here, as you can see, possibly catching some kind of counter-trend bounce. It's trying to defend this level here, isn't it? This box that we've got going on. So can it, can't it? I don't know. In the short term, maybe we're going to end up moving this line like this and then see a rejection. But of course, as I said before, we have to be open to seeing some sort of breakout that then waddles its way up here before resuming down. Although I don't think that's most likely. I think what's most likely is we do see this rollover in the near term. So I expect, therefore, Bitcoin's price to respond accordingly. We know the levels, we know the big levels. We've got this upward sloping red support line, we've got this yellow range breakout. We want to hold both of those if we're going to maintain bullish structure. Obviously, the distance between there and the current price is quite large. However, in the short term, if you're looking to buy this dip, then I think perhaps a touch of this upward sloping blue support line or a breakout of this downward sloping blue resistance line will be a short-term opportunity for you to add to dips. If you are not in already, or if you're looking to add more exposure, just keep in mind, there is nothing to say that we're not going to have to trend down all the way into the 9th of May now, and that this isn't the cycle high. Now, I don't think it is. I think there's a good chance that we just trap a bunch of shorts in here. The bears come out and say, I told you so, and then Bitcoin does Bitcoin things before dropping into that cycle low on the 9th. But anything and everything is on the table, of course. So I want to kick things off today by showing you a couple of clips.
Telling people they can opt out of inflation by investing their savings in volatile cryptocurrencies is not responsible leadership. By the way, anyone who followed that advice would have seen their life savings destroyed.
Or if you use your credit card, you go into debt to build an expansion on your house that you're then going to be able to sell your house for more. If you're making investments that are going to return, that is how you grow a strong economy. Because quite frankly, confident economies invest in themselves.
So, do I need to say anything? I don't think so. I do want to show you this clip though, because this was a clip from the BBC, I believe, talking about the internet in 1994. And again, I don't really think it needs words. I think it will speak for itself. So check this out.
Imagine a world where every word ever written, every picture ever painted, and every film ever shot could be viewed instantly in your home via an information superhighway, a high-capacity digital communications network. What that would mean is you could transform your home into a mammoth interactive entertainment centre, with the odd stock exchange and shopping centre thrown in. It sounds pretty grand, but it all comes down to computers communicating. And in fact, that's already happening on something called the internet, that anyone in the world with a computer and a modem to connect it to a telephone line can subscribe to. There are over 20 million people connected up, and one person in particular I know is connected is the American President, Bill Clinton. And I know that because I used this computer to write to him today, and I've already got a reply from the White House, and here it is. Right. Thank you for writing to President Clinton via electronic mail. The President is committed to integrating this dynamic medium into the White House. And it goes on to give some details of his government's policy to encourage the building of information superhighways. Now, I can't electronically mail our Prime Minister, John Major, because he hasn't got a modem. And I can't find out what his government's policy on information superhighways is, because it hasn't got one. At least nothing beyond the usual thing of leaving it to market forces. But you can do more than just send messages on the internet. There's loads of useful information in here. You can get news, recipes, and I found this satellite weather map in there. And there are interactive services as well. This is a shopping centre, and here it says it's just off the information superhighway. That's its address, and inside there's a flower shop, and it shows me the picture of the flowers I can order and tells me how much they cost. Then all I have to do is tap in the address I want them to go to, and of course I have to give them my credit card details to pay. And there's even some stuff about us in here. Let me just find that for you, because we've just put some details on the internet about tonight's programme and some pictures as well.
So there you have it. I mean, It's pretty incredible, isn't it? Because the internet seems so intuitive. Obviously, it has spread around the entire globe. Obviously, it's integrated deeply into everyone's lives and has been that way for seemingly forever. However, it really wasn't that long ago when most people just couldn't comprehend it. Most people, there was undoubtedly there was a small group of people walking around screaming at people to invest in the internet. The internet's going to be the biggest thing ever. It's going to revolutionize the communications industry and the information industry. And you just know that just like when you say this today to people that don't have Bitcoin, just like when you try to onboard Bitcoiners, just like when you try to explain what Bitcoin is going to do and how it's going to disrupt money itself, people just don't get it, right? But we can look at the internet and we can see how it progressed from this clip, for example, to today. And for those of us that are able to extrapolate, for those of us that are able to put the time and the effort and the research in, I don't think it's a big stretch of the imagination to think of us in a few decades' time looking back at this sort of time and looking back at how clunky the Bitcoin system was relative to how user-friendly and how mass adopted it's going to be in a couple of decades' time. We really are truly very early here. However, we are currently being adopted at roughly twice the rate the internet was. So maybe we won't have to wait a couple of decades. Maybe it will be more like one. So next up, I've got a few fractals to show you. Mostly these are for fun, let's be honest. But you can't deny how absurdly similar these current ones are. So on the left, as you can see, we had this sort of range, a break above, a head and shoulders top, followed by a retest of the breakout level. And then we went full parabolic. And that's exactly what we've got today. We've just put in this head and shoulders, as you can see. Are we now going to get a dip down to around 28.8 before then resuming and reversing, liquidating all of the shorts and the bears that are undoubtedly going to pile in on this dip and start coming out on Twitter and saying, I told you so, Capo was right. You know how it goes, right? We got to run the liquidity. We got to first create the liquidity by creating a bear trap, by making it look like we're going to collapse, only to then use all of those shorts and bears as fuel for the next leg up. Because if you look at the date, we are quite significantly far away from the 9th. We're about 3 weeks away from the 9th of May when that 60-day cycle low is due. So there is plenty of room to the upside here. And I like what I see, frankly, out of this comparison. Here's another example of where Bitcoin puts in a parabola after breaking out of one of these downward sloping wedges. Again, very, very similar. Do we expect some chop or sideways action in the short term? Yes. But do we also therefore expect higher highs to come thereafter? I think so personally. If we zoom out significantly more, then you can see so far this time is not different, and it is of course reasonable to expect higher highs. Koosh here calling for a bullish megaphone breakout backtest resumption. Are we putting in that backtest as we speak? Is that what this current dip is? Are we currently putting in the backtest before the resumption higher? I think it's quite possible. And one thing I always like to see, and I often talk about, is market sentiment and positioning. This can provide clues to the direction of the market. If you look at the top of this chart, the Commitment to Traders weekly report shows market positioning via the futures market is more short than when the world shut down. So you can see here, currently we are more short in the futures market than we were when the C19 plunge happened. And you can see down the bottom, the bull-bear ratio and the 1 year gains from that point onwards. So you can see the blue line is the bull-bear ratio. Every time it drops to significantly bearish, that tends to mark the bottoms, and you can see we had a 131% increase thereafter, a 91% increase thereafter, we had a 71% thereafter, 124, 128, and now look how bearish we are. We're even more bearish than the great financial crisis, even more bearish than when the world shut down and the dot-com bubble. Whenever I see things like this, I don't want to be a bear. How could you feel comfortable being a bear right now, knowing that this is that the sentiment is skewed beyond when the world shut down and the great financial crisis? I would not feel comfortable if I was short or a bear right now. I would feel very nervous that I am thinking just the same as everybody else is. And as if that's not enough, we've just had a rare bullish signal in the form of a breadth thrust. The breadth thrust was triggered last week. And whenever this has happened, you can see the 1, 3, 6, and 12 months return thereafter. The average 1 month return for the S&P after this signal was triggered is 5%, as you can see here, 8.3 in 3 months, 17.2% in 6 months, and 23.3% in 12 months. With the S&P 500 being higher, 92.9, 78.6, 100%, and 100% of the time, respectively. So this time could be different, but maybe, just maybe it isn't. Remember, breadth speaks to the amount of market participation within the index. A low breadth move is not to be trusted because it would signal the indexes are moving up without individual stocks taking part in the rally. But having a breadth thrust shows that not only are the indexes moving up, but the vast majority of the stocks within that index are participating in this rally. It's a wide market participation rally. And that means since everything is moving up together, we can trust the move a lot more. So as I said, here's Bitcoin. I think your levels to watch for in the short term are a touch of this, and I would possibly be thinking about drawing a trend line like that and waiting for a breakout, because there is nothing to say that the price isn't going to do this, right? So you don't just want to be stabbing in the dark here. Don't just buy this dip blindly. I mean, you do you, but I wouldn't personally. I would at least wait for some sort of bounce or some sort of breakout before adding to my longs if I was going to do so. Gold still holding the support, as you can see. So thinking about getting short if we can get a breakdown, thinking about getting long if we can get a consolidation and a breakout. So that's to be determined. Silver is up and holding its trend line just about, so that is what it is. Both of these likely to benefit if the dollar can break down, but as I showed you earlier on, it wouldn't be beyond the realm of expectation to see a small pop-up in the short term. VIX still undergoing compression. So is this, if I draw a horizontal line, it's pretty rough admittedly, but if I draw a horizontal line, have we got breakdown, retest, looking for that resumption lower? If so, then expect the stocks to continue to fly, expect them to continue to trend to the upside. Of course, it's earnings week this week, so it will be interesting to see how the company's healths are doing, how spending is doing, and it's important to be open to all outcomes. FTSE 100, as you can see, is still climbing. The futures were green this morning for the US equities as I checked them. So anyway, it's Monday. We got a whole week ahead of us. Hope you found some value here today. I hope you found this useful. Leave me a comment if you have any chart requests or if you want to see anything from me in particular. And I hope you enjoy your week as much as I'm going to. In the meantime, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.